our eating habits and our eating routine? How does that work?
Eat when we're hungry. So some body types, like more kapha, they're not necessarily hungry when they first wake up. Maybe just some water or some tea or something. Others, more vata or the fire of pitta, they need some fuel early. So it's important to acknowledge that. Eat when you're hungry. Don't eat if you're not hungry. So breakfast, if you have it, should take you to lunch so that you're not famished by the time you have lunch. Lunch, that 1 o'clock period, is when pitta, the fire element, the fuel element, is highest. So that's when our digestive system can accommodate the largest meal, and that should be the largest meal of the day, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So don't overeat. But that should be the largest meal. Ayurveda recommends not eating till you're stuffed.
Right, right. Like what's the 50%, 75%? Different people tell me different things.
Yes. In some of the yogic texts, it says eat, half an angle, a half a handful. But I think that applies if you're just doing yoga all day long.
Right.
Easy yoga, meditating. But we're in the world, we have more fire. We need more, it's cold, we need more fuel. So my understanding is about 75% solid food and about 25% room temperature or warm water.
Okay.
So when we sit down for lunch, we should be hungry.
Mm-hmm.
As we're eating, we're starting to feel a little more satisfied, but we're not necessarily full. So we continue eating until that point of satisfaction. Now, if you eat until the problem is that the apostat valve in the hypothalamus takes about 15 minutes to register satiety. So you don't really know if you're full until about 15 minutes after you've eaten. So if you eat until you're full, 15 minutes later you can realize, oh my God, I'm at 125%. I'm stuffed.
Yeah.
Now, Ayurveda says if you do that on a regular basis, that is a major cause of disease.
Right, right. Okay. So one way we could translate this into our families is not giving kids like a huge plate full of food, and also not sitting there telling them you're going to finish your plate, right? That's kind of what I used to hear growing up, is you're going to finish that whole plate of food, or no dessert. So, of course, I finish it, and I'm stuffed, and then I have dessert, and I'm even more stuffed, right? So that's not the idea, right?
Yes, yes.
Good. Okay, so I think that it's difficult for us to do the largest meal at lunch with our Western routine, but there's workarounds for it. What do you do to have your largest meal at lunch?
I bring a wide-mouth food thermos to work, and I cook it at home at the same time I'm preparing a light breakfast. And the food is, I cook usually some type of dal, lentil, or mung bean, and I cook it for about 5 or 6 minutes, and then as that's cooking, I'm chopping up some vegetables, throw that in, throw a little ghee, a little coconut oil, throw some spices, a little bit of Himalayan salt, stir it all together, cook the vegetables for just 2 or 3 minutes, maybe at the very end throw in some leafy greens, some spinach, stir it, and while it's still boiling hot, I pour it to the top of my wide-mouth food thermos, seal it instantly, and there you go. I used to go out for lunch all the time, and the fastest, not fast food, but the fastest sit-down, halfway decent restaurant, even if I'd walk there, it was an hour. Walking there, waiting to get seated, get the menu, place my order, wait for the food, eat the food, wait for the check. Even if I'm in a hurry trying to push that along and then rush back, it's pretty close to an hour. And it was a stressful hour. This way, I have real food, organic, fresh, warm, not very expensive. I eat it in about 15 minutes. I sit for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then I get up and I go for a little walk. And in a half an hour, I've had a wonderful, relaxing, nourishing meal.
Exactly. And you know where the ingredients came from, and you're cooking it with love, and you don't have to worry about the letter in the restaurant window and all that, right? And you're probably saving money too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. Peter is asking, when should we eat dinner? Like, how much time should we leave between dinner and sleep?
Well, if we go to sleep, Ayurveda recommends in bed before 10. You want to finish your dinner 3 hours before bed.
Okay, so 7.
You want to finish by 7. And dinner should be lighter than lunch, because if you have a heavy dinner, that food doesn't digest well, and it doesn't break down thoroughly. It creates toxins in the digestive system, and over a period of time, that has a whole host of undesirable health detriments.
Right, right. And a lot of people, you know, they're talking about eat 6 meals a day or whatever because it's easier on your digestion, but that's not what Ayurveda says at all, right?
No, not necessarily.
We want 3 meals and time to digest in between, right?
A good yes, because if you're eating 6 meals, chances are you haven't digested the previous one before you're snacking on something else. Right. That was my error for years, and that creates toxins and weight gain and decreases the digestive fire. A good way to look at the digestive system is visualize a campfire, and you have to have a pretty good size fire, and you put an adequate log on that fire, and it burns the log, produces heat and light, which is what we want, and the log is reduced to ash. Well, if we're hungry, our digestive fire is high, is strong, we eat a substantial meal, it breaks it down to nutritional ash, which goes into the blood and rebuilds our cells. If the fire is low on a campfire and you put too large of a log on, it smolders and goes out, and you have a half-burnt log, which is toxic. Same thing with the food. It becomes not fully digested, and the term for that is or half digested, which is a toxin. So it's a first stage of toxicity. So it's good to visualize that the food in front of us is like an offering. We're offering it to the fire within our bodies, within our digestive system. It gets consumed by that fire, and it becomes our body. That food is our body. If that food is not appealing on every level, on the color, the aroma, the sight, the taste, the smell, then some part of that produces an undesirable effect in our psychophysiology. So that food is our body.